Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet Shrinvatam Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Udayantasto hi Abhadrani Vidunoti Sahursatam Nashtapayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttama Sloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistaki. I'd like to seek blessing from all the assembled Vaishnavas. Thank you for giving me opportunity to purify myself. Today we'll be reading the verses 1 to 3 from the Canto 4, chapter 22. Chapter 22, Prudu Maharaja's meeting with the four Kumaras. Text 1. Maitreya Uvacha Janeshu Pragrunatsa Evam Prudum Prudula Vikramam Tatropajagmur Chatvara Surya Varchasa. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The great sage Maitreya said, while the citizens were thus praying to the most powerful king Prudu, the four Kumaras, who were as bright as the sun, arrived on the spot. Text 2. तांस्तु सिद्धेश्वरान् राजा व्योम्नोऽवतारतोऽर्षिचा चिसा लोकान् अपापान् कुर्वाणान् सानुगो षष्ठलक्षितान्. Translation. Seeing the glowing effulgence of four Kumaras, the master of all mystic power, the king and his associate could recognize them as they descended from the sky. The four Kumaras are described herein as Siddheshwaran, which means masters of all the mystic power. One who has attained perfection in yoga practice immediately becomes master of 8 mystic perfections. To become smaller than the smallest, to become lighter than the lightest, to become bigger than the biggest, to achieve anything one desires, to control everything, etc. These four Kumaras, as Siddheshwaras, had achieved all the yogic perfectional achievements, and as such they could travel in outer space without missions. While they were coming to Maharaja Prudu from other planets, they did not come by aeroplane, but personally. In other words, these four Kumaras were also spacemen who could travel in space without missions. The residents of the planet known as Siddhaloka can travel in outer space from one planet to another without vehicles. However, the special power of the Kumaras mentioned here is that whatever place they went to would immediately become sinless. During the reign of Maharaja Prudu, everything on the surface of this globe was sinless, and therefore the Kumaras decided to see the king. Ordinarily, they do not go to any planet which is sinful. Text 3. Taddarshanodgatan pranan pratyaditsur ivotitaha sa sadasyanugo vainya Indriyesho Gunan Iva. Translation. Seeing the four Kumaras, Purdu Maharaja was greatly anxious to receive them. Therefore, the king, with all his officers, very hastily got up, as anxiously as the conditioned soul whose senses are immediately attracted by the modes of material nature. Purport. In Bhagavad Gita 3.27, it is said, Prakrute kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasha ahankara vimudatma kartaham iti manyate. Every conditioned soul is influenced by a particular mixture of the modes of material nature. As such, the conditioned soul is attracted to certain types of activity which he is forced to perform because he is completely under the influence of material nature. Here, Prudu is compared to such a conditioned soul, not because he was a conditioned soul, but because he was so anxious to receive the Kumaras that it was as if Without them, he would have lost his life. The conditioned soul is attracted by the objects of sense gratification. His eyes are attracted to beautiful things, his ears are attracted to hear nice music, his nose is attracted to enjoy the aroma of a nice flower, and his tongue is attracted to a taste nice food. Similarly, all his other senses, his hands, his legs, his belly, his genital, his mind, etc., are so susceptible to the attraction of the objects of enjoyment that he cannot restrain himself. Prudu Maharaja, in the same way, could not restrain himself from receiving the four Kumaras, who were bright by dint of their spiritual progress, and thus not only he himself, but also his officers and associates all received the four Kumaras. It is said, birds of feather flock together. In this world, everyone is attracted by a person of the same category. A drunkard is attracted to person who are also drunkards. Similarly, a saintly person is attracted by a saintly persons. Praduma Raja was in topmost position of spiritual advancement, and as such, he was attracted by the Kumaras, who are of the same category. It is said, therefore, the man is known by his company. नम ओं विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रस्थाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी इति नामने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. I'd like to seek blessings from all the assembled Vaishnavas and thank you for giving me this opportunity to purify myself. Please forgive me for any shortcomings. So we are started a new chapter yesterday. I think Sramhari Prabhu gave an overview of the chapter. Chapter titled Pradumaraja's meeting with the four Kumaras. So the first few verses of this chapter talks about how Pradumara's rule and reception of the Kumaras and enquiries from them. So in the first two verses, so the four Kumaras arrives while the citizens of were praising the Pradumarajas, four Kumaras, and it mentioned in the first verse, they were, as bright as the sun and arrived there. And seeing their effulgence, Pradumaraja and others, everyone in their kingdom could recognize who they are, and they descended from the sky. And in the verse 3, it talks about eagerness to receive, king and citizens immediately got up to receive them, and with the eagerness of a conditioned soul, they attracted to the sense objects. Here, Prabhupada mentioned that, Pradhu Maharaj is a Shaktavesh avatar, and four Kumaras also Shaktavesh avatars. So one is receiving others, both are of equals, and also is association, they recognize each other. And here, as material objects are, so strong, how, senses attracted to the material objects, similarly, even though Pradhu Maharaj is not in a material platform, but with the same eagerness, Pradhu Maharaj was receiving four Kumaras. And in the verse translation, Prabhupada mentioned that, these four Kumaras, are Siddheshwaran, means master of all mystic powers. So they got all those 8, mystic perfections. So they can travel from one planet to another planet without using any vehicles or something like that. They are like a spaceman could travel without any missions. And also it says that wherever this uh, core Kumaras, people with this mystic powers or spiritual power, wherever they go, the place becomes sinless. And also he had mentioned that Pradhu Maharaj's kingdom is sinless, the way Pradhu Maharaj is ruling this kingdom wonderfully. And ordinarily four Kumaras don't go to any places, planets which is sinful. And And it's mentioned that saintly person visits are very auspicious, and both are Shaktavatesha avatars. And the reason being, the saintly persons carry the potency with them and aura with them. So that is what very powerful. And having associating with those, saintly persons or sadhus, give us very auspicious, and also one can learn from them their knowledge, and they can inspire us, and they can also make our devotional service progress further, and makes us more interest to serve and progress in the spiritual path. So there was a story like there lived a drunkard who used on a regularly booze heavily and live alone, spending his time without doing any work. But his friends used to advise to do some work and earn for his living. But his answer was, "Luck will strike me one day." If it so happened one day in the evening, there was a knock twice at his door. He asked, "Who is it?" "I am your luck. Open the door," was the answer. He replied, "Get lost. You cannot be my luck, because I know that luck strikes only once and you tap it twice." So this is the state of a conditioned life. Many times, even when we freely get association of saintly people, deluded by illusion and energy, we fail to realize its value and lose the opportunity to serve them, to sincerely hear and follow their instructions. So, there was a nice sloka in Srimad Bhagavatam, third canto, where Srimati Devahuti was saying to her husband Kardama Muni. It's a canto 3, chapter 23, verse 57. Saham Bhagavate Nunam Vanchita Mayaya Drudam Yat Tvam Vimuktidam Prapya Na Mumukesh Na Mumukeshaya Bandhanat. My lord, surely I have been solidly cheated by the insurmountable energy of the Supreme Lord of Godhead. For in spite of having obtained your association, which gives liberation from material bondage, I did not seek such liberation. So, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes an intelligent person should utilize good opportunities. He mentioned three things. The first opportunity is the human form of life, which we all got by the grace of the Lord. The second opportunity is to take birth in suitable family where there is a cultivation of spiritual knowledge. This is also rarely obtained. And the third and the greatest opportunity is to have the association of saintly person. Association with material persons leads one to the bondage, but the same association performed with a saintly person leads to a path of liberation, even performed without knowledge. So the association of a saintly person is anyway bears the same result, even it happened unknowingly. So the example mentioned here is the fire. If one touches the fire knowingly, unknowingly, the result is a burn. In case of Hunter Mugari, he had an association of Narada Muni for only few moments. He did not even know the glories of Narada Muni, Supreme Lord, or devotional service, but that a few moments of association did a magical transformation in him. Not only did he start chanting the holy name, but also his tendency to harm other living entities also got burnt in the fire of good association with Narada Muni. So much so that he did not want to even step over an ant by mistake. So in case of Dhruva Maharaj, he knew that Narada Muni is a great devotee, but still he was focused only on getting position higher than his great grandfather Brahmaji, but was requesting Narada Muni to help him find out a honest way to attain this. So even if motive was for material position, by the good association of Narada Muni, he could get the taste of devotional service, and once he began to practice it sincerely, he not only got the darshan of the Lord to face, but also felt repentant for having approached the Lord with material motives. So such is the power of association with the saintly person. So in nectar of devotion, it tells about there are 64 angas of bhakti, and there are top five limbs of devotional service: sadhu sangha, nama kirtana, bhagavat shravana, mathura vasa, sri mutira, shraddhaya sevaya. So in this verse, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is instructing Srila Sanatana Goswami about process of devotional service, and he states that there are 64 devotional service, but of them 5 are considered to be the best. So, and out of 5, one of them is most stressed in this age of Kali Yuga, that is a Nama Sankirtan. So Sadhu Sangha is the first one, associated with sadhus and Vaishnavas, serving them and taking their instruction to progress ahead of devotional service. Second thing is Nama Sankirtana, congregational chanting of the holy name. Third one is a Bhagavata Sravana, hearing about pastimes of, divine couple Radha and Krishna. and our other scripturals from the gurus and learned Vaishnavas. And Madhura Vasa, taking residence in Madhura Dham or Vrindavan Dham, also take, residence in the holy places. And Murti Seva is the deity of deity worship. So here Acharya says that in this Kali Yuga, it's not possible to practice, any limbs of devotional service without Nama Sankirtan. So association of sadhu is the best one when one participates in Shuddha Sankirtan with them. So here also it is told like Bhagavad Shravan or scripture one has to listen by through the proper authority or Vaishnavas or learned scholars. It is mentioned that even the scriptures read by material uh, persons, as these material persons don't have a potency, so it cannot give us a better results. Whereas the Vaishnavas or learned scholars or gurus or sadhus, render those learnings or read those scriptures because of the potency, or it can they have a spiritual potency by the mercy of the Lord. I think that is how one can get the spiritual benefit by hearing them. So, hearing through the right source and realized and learned scholars and in the Shastric is the one we have to follow. That's what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Prabhupada does in his purpose. One should not listen any other philosophies, Mayavadi or somebody who is not in our succession, because that only, it serves as a poison. I think that's what Prabhupada put it in the terms. So, the beauty of Kali Yuga is Nama Sankirtana. There is no rules and nothing. One can just chant the holy names of the Lord with full intensity. And even Bhami Swami Maharaj was telling, um, association is very powerful, and also environment is also very important, not to be disturbed by the lower modes. There was times where Srirangam, for example, different varnas used to live closer to each, themselves, meaning it's like the Srirangam, I think, all the brahmanas live closer to the temple, and in the outer layers it goes to the different varnas. Even though we have to treat all the varnas with the respect, but it tells the association, how much one want to associate with the same persons or saintly persons, because which will influence our modes. The more we associate with the higherly spiritual conscious or spiritual persons, we can get elevated. So it's like whom do I associate with? And when we associate with, if somebody is higher or knowing better or more realized soul, we should hear them from them and get the knowledge from them. So I think that's how one should associate. And also, cause of faith is association of devotees, hearing from the devotees. And as we know in the uh, Madhurya Kadambani also, right? Sometimes this cause of faith comes by accident, by the association of the devotee, or if somebody attends the Radha Yatra, or eat the prasad, or visit the temple. So, but that's where the cause of faith comes, and slowly the faith develops, and devotion also comes with that. And that's how one's spiritual journey starts. And also it tells pranipatena pariprashnena, so we have to find the spiritual master or guru, and we have to be inquisitive to learn from them, and also ask the questions and inquire from them, and and also serving them, once, and also following their order, one can progress in the bhakti. So here um, and uh, as we develop the bhakti, one becomes detached to the material enjoyment. So we don't have to do anything special, but by associating and developing the bhakti, and sadhu sangha, and doing these 5 limbs of bhakti, one can progress in the bhakti, as well as automatically it detaches from the material enjoyment. So here in these 3 verses, first verses, the Kumaras arrives, and when they arrive, one could recognize that they descended from the sky. And the third verse is talking about how Prudu Maharaj very eager to receive the 4 Kumaras, and their eagerness is compared to conditioned soul attracted to the sense objects. So sadhu sangha is important. Associating with the sadhus are very important. And how do we receive? And for we have a lot of Maharajas and a lot of senior devotees visit us and come to the congregation. I think we have to utilize their opportunity to serve them and learn from them and put them into the practice. And with that, I can conclude. Please forgive me for any shortcomings. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo.